Welcome back, everybody, to the Yankee and the Brit. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. Today, we're going to continue our division by division, grading each team's draft. And today, we're going to start with Maddie's NFC East. And let's just start with your Cowboys.
Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys. I've actually given them a B+ on this. I'm a lot higher than a lot of Cowboys Nation and a lot lower of some of other Cowboys Nation, but they're far too high. I think B+ is. I think it's a decent grade, like B+. I was very proud of them on day one. I just want to put that out there. They nobody expected J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain to be off the board by pick 10. And to be honest, I'm happy that J.C. Horn was gone by then. He wasn't my guy, J.C. Horn. I was at the point where I was like, it's Patrick Surtain or we'll pick somebody else. I think J.C. Horn's just like a massive receiver, a massive cornerback with all the physical traits, but not actually. They're not going to translate too well to the next level, and he'll show me wrong now and play absolutely stellar. But I was proud that they kept their heads, decided to move back, and it was an intelligent trade back. Those people who were saying, "Oh, why are you trading in division? Why are you trading with the Eagles? You've given the Eagles Devontae Smith." It's like, the Giants would have had him anyway. Wouldn't you rather have given him to the Eagles, where he's the number one receiver at the Eagles now? Whereas if he goes to the Giants, he's probably their third best receiver. Like, you're stacking their deck if you give them Devontae Smith. So I thought it was a good trade with the Eagles, and then they managed to draft the best defensive player in this entire draft, in my eyes. And I know he's a linebacker, not high value position, but Micah Parsons was the highest player in my eyes, the highest defensive player in this draft in my eyes. So I was very proud of them on day one.
Yeah, I absolutely love Micah Parsons. I think that Joseph, Kentucky cornerback, was a great pick also. I know that some people have issues with the Cowboys because they'll take flyers on guys with character issues. And I don't want to get too much into the off-field shit with Josh Ball, but I think he could be a really good offensive tackle. I know that he's another guy with character issues. Jabril Cox, great pick from...
I don't understand how he was still there.
Right, LSU. I gave the Cowboys, I gave them a B because I think that like you said, trading back, still getting Micah Parsons, picking up a third-round pick, and people can cry, "Oh, why would you trade in your own division? Why would you trade?" Because the same exact players were going to go to either the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Giants, no matter what order, if you trade it or not.
Yeah, exactly. And it just makes far more sense to give him to the Eagles than to give him to the Giants at this current moment. And I think a lot of that stems from the fact that Cowboys fans hate the Eagles a lot more than they hate the Giants, which is fair enough. I do too. I agree with them, but you draft for your team, you needed that third round pick. Our defense has so many holes that it's just get as many lottery tickets as you can. I love the pick of Micah Parsons. I don't know if you've seen this, but there's videos of him before the draft saying, "If it's Dallas, I'm going to go absolutely mental. If it's Dallas, I'll cry. Like, if I go to the Cowboys, I'll cry."
No, but that's pretty awesome.
Exactly. And so it's nice to have a guy who wants to be at your team as well. Like, he wanted to play as a Dallas Cowboy, and that's really good. And the Cowboys with Micah Parsons and Jabril Cox, we now have a position where we could say we're the best in the NFL at that position. I know it seems to be a low-level position, a linebacker, but I think in the modern-day NFL, it's really important to have mobile and talented linebackers. I think it's really important. And we were so garbage on the run last year. Surely let's just stock up on players who might actually be able to stop the run, Like, with Sean Lee leaving as well, the linebacker becomes a really... it was a need. People saying linebackers don't need. Well, we've only got two and they weren't great last year. And Van Der Esch is injury prone, and I love the guy. He's my brother's favorite player on the team, Leighton Van Der Esch, but he does have injury issues, and we need to see if he can shake them for this season. So Micah Parsons, I thought, was a great pick. Now, Kelvin Joseph, I would have taken Asante Samuel. I haven't held that as a secret on the podcast. I would have taken Asante Samuel, but having watched lots of Kelvin Joseph, I totally get it. Like he has the physical traits to kind of go up against anyone opposite Trayvon Diggs. That's an exciting cornerback pairing for the future as well. Like they might not play as well this year, but it's exciting for the future to have young talent at the cornerback position who can maybe make it. And you gave a very interesting theory before we started making this video.
Well, your guy, Jerry Jones, like some guy with little bits of character issues. You know, Joseph fits that little.
Yeah, 100%.
I think Jerry has this weird thing where he like thinks if they're a little off, they're better football players, which might be the case. But I like the fact that you guys stacked up on 3 corners.
Yeah, it's Nahshon Wright is a reach. That's like the Dallas draft is a B+ for me because they've taken really good players, but it's filled with reaches as well. So Nahshon Wright and Chauncey Golston are 2 reaches. You probably could have got Nahshon Wright a bit later on, but if he's your guy, then he's your guy. Like they drafted on length is what a lot of people are coming out and saying. They drafted on wingspan, and the guy's a ball hawk, and that's just not something that we have.
And as we talked about earlier, I'm a firm believer that your boy Richard Sherman's going to be in Dallas by the time it's over. And the reason I say this is I don't think he's going to want to break the bank. I think he wants a team that has a shot at doing something. And now that the Dak Prescott thing's all settled, you definitely have a really good shot at winning the East, right? So you get in the playoffs, you don't know you never know what happens. And he's going to walk into a defense that he knows so well in Dallas that he can help him coach it.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Like we're going to have a young cornerback core with a lot of talent. So it'd be great to have a guy like Richard Sherman to teach these guys how to play. And Nahshon Wright has come in and said he is the next Richard Sherman. So what a great way to play behind the guy who you're saying that you're
Did you see Richard Sherman's reaction to that?
I haven't seen it yet. No, what did he say?
He loved it. He laughed.
He should do.
Everything. Yeah,
he should do. I'm actually really enjoying Nahshon Wright already. Like I'm very excited. He's Rajon Wright's brother from Last Chance U when they did Laney College. He's the brother of Rajon Wright. I also like Osa Odigizua, who's I'm gonna get a shirt with his name on the back if he's any good. And people
you better hope they don't charge you per letter per
the letter. Yeah, I know. Yeah. But if there's what I'm not overly keen on the Josh Ball pick. It's nothing to do with talent. It's the crime that he committed. But at the same time, I also believe in redemption. And you can't, if you're a young guy, you can't have the rest of your life affected by something that you did when you're in college.
Right.
Like,
you and I talked about how we hate to throw young people away, but if they called it dating violence, which I don't know if that's any different than domestic violence, whatever. That is a really touchy subject. I was not there. You weren't there. We don't know the ins and outs of it. I'm sure they did their due diligence. And I just pray no matter what happened, this kid grew from it and can live up to every bit of its potential.
Yeah, and if it's like he must have served his sentence, whether that's monetary or whether he spent time, I haven't looked into it too much, but he must have served his sentence and
probation or something.
Yeah, we should live in societies where once you've served your sentence, then you're not entirely clear. Obviously, that'll follow you for the rest of your life because you made a massive mistake, but it shouldn't inhibit you from filling out your dreams as well. So he's a really good offensive tackle, and we need backups at offensive tackle. So that's great. A guy that loads of people are sleeping on is Simi Fehoko. I think that's Fehoko. Yeah,
Fehoko, and it's the only one I'm going to get right for you this whole draft.
Thank you very much, mate. But that guy is. But he's the only offensive player we've taken, not including offensive line, of course. And the guy's a beast. I'm excited about him. That makes our wide receiving core just even more legit. We picked so many players. That's great. I'm very excited about the draft class. I have problems with some of the reaches. It could potentially be one of the best defensive draft classes that Dallas has had in a long time.
In the Cowboys' favor is go back and look at how many second-round picks or later that Mike McCarthy's offense turned into a really good wide receiver.
he's an incredible wide receiver already. Like when you look at him, you
Right.
think like,
And so,
how's this guy like slipped so far? Like,
and he
so
fit
I think he's very
perfectly into
impressive.
that system.
Yeah, and it's when Michael Gallup comes and asks for his contract. If Simi can play hard, then maybe Gallup saying, "Oh well, maybe I'll have to take less to stay in Dallas if I want to stay here," or
Or you got a guy to replace.
he'll have to go somewhere else because you've got a guy to replace him. You know, so I think they've addressed their needs. They've not necessarily like they got a bit shat on at the start and came out of that situation really. Really well. Also, Trayvon Morig went the place before Kelvin Joseph as well. So that's 2 times that their player got swooped out from under them both 2 times.
The draft, like, they got you again.
But like 2 times, but they played well from there. They played their draft really well from there. And Joe Jones is a good judge of talent. He's proven that, of course. And with the character issues of Micah Parsons, lots of people have problems with it. It was a bit of hazing in college. Like, it's wrong. It's horrible. Shouldn't haze people. Shouldn't be a thing. But that is a college crime. That is a crime that you would only commit in college.
I know I've asked you in previous videos if it bothered you. It never bothered me. The Micah Parsons thing. Go back if you want to see. There was some weird shit. I don't even want to get into it. Go back and read if you guys want. But it wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't like rape or like violence.
It wasn't like obviously it was bad, but it was a college crime. It was a crime that you would commit in college. Like,
and that's like with Joseph. I think his is just immaturity, and as long as he's grown up, he'll be fine. Yeah. So I love what your Cowboys did, though. I love it.
And if you're willing to take on bad character issues, then you get good talent later on in the draft, and Dallas is willing to do that. It's very rarely bet them in the arse.
If something happens with one of these late round picks, though, you just cut them.
Yeah, 100%. And exactly. And Micah Parsons, Calvin Joseph, their crimes.
Oh, they did their due diligence on those two, because those are 2 guys you're not just going to cut unless you have to. So I'm sure every NFL team has retired FBI agents working for them, private investigators. They even go talk to people you went to elementary school with. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like they did their due diligence, I'm sure, and they felt comfortable with the character of the kid. They probably just felt like they were just kids who made stupid mistakes.
Yeah, Parsons didn't do anything that I haven't seen happen in rugby changing rooms across the country the whole time. That's legitimately it. Like, rugby teams have been banned from student unions in universities for doing much, much more than Micah Parsons ever did. And it's I think that's more on rugby culture than anything than you guys ever want to hear. Shall we move on to the New York Giants? I'm so unsure about their draft. I've given them a B, but I love their pick at the start. Their draft back at the start, like their play was excellent in my personal opinion. And they're looking to have an amazing draft next year. Like, they could be one of those teams with the picks that they've taken this year, with the picks that they've got from that trade to the Bears. They get a 1st and a 4th next year. Their next year draft could be one of the A++ drafts. Like, that's what they're building for, because they're one of the teams that clearly subscribe to. It's going to be easier to evaluate guys next year than it was this year. I'm not sure about moving back and taking Kadarius Toney. That's where my grade entirely lies on. If Kadarius Toney comes out and blows up the world, then it's a great play.
Okay, so you take him, but how does he fit in with Coach Clapp? Because Coach Clapp's their offensive coordinator. Okay, Jason Garrett, guys.
I know it's Jason Garrett.
But I figured I'd let everybody know. He doesn't even fit with him. I gave this draft a D. I like their trade back, but I don't like the choices they made. I don't. I think most of them were reaches, and I don't see how some of them even fit in. And me and you have talked about it. Yeah, go get another receiver, but you just spent a ton of money on Galladay. You just brought in Kyle Rudolph. You already got guys on your team. I know you want to wrap things up for Danny Dimes, but like, with all the players that were sitting there in the 1st round and the depth of this wide receiver class, we were texting. It blew my mind. Yeah,
they could have got Terrence Marshall Jr. in the 2nd round, and that would have freaked me out. Like,
I think they had a great plan. and horrible execution.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I texted you saying. I was like, "Oh, great move by the Giants," but I'm not sure about taking Kadarius Toney there. I didn't. The player is going to be electric. The player is a great wide receiver. Got really good big play, really good big play ability, but they missed out on Caleb Farley, Adefe Owe, Greg Newsome. By moving back, they missed out on Jalen Phillips. They missed out on so many players that they could have taken in that spot that would have made their team infinitely better. They needed to improve their pass rush this year. They could have taken Christian Barmore. We mentioned it in the other video. If you want to go see that, then we did one on the New England Patriots and the AFC East. And they missed out on Christian Barmore, who was the best defensive interior in the draft, and you gave away your best defensive interior. They missed out on Kwity Paye, like who we thought they were all going to take. I like the move back, but when they moved back, all the guys that I thought were still going to be at the top of their board, apart from Jalen Phillips, were all still there, and they took a wide receiver, and that's weird to me. The fact that the Eagles caught on that the Giants were going to take Devontae Smith, I thought the Eagles' move up was stupid until I saw Kadarius Toney go to the Giants, and then I was like, "Oh my god, were they going to take Devontae Smith? Like, what's the crack with that? Like, they've spent so much money on the wide receivers already."
I would have been okay with that pick more than this one. Like,
100%. 100%. Devontae Smith's a talent that you would struggle to miss out on. If you're like, I would be freaked out if Devontae Smith was there, but. And it's not on Kadarius Toney. This is what we say about the player. No. Every single player where we're talking about value and trade back, it's Kadarius Toney could light the NFL on fire, but there are players out there that would have been better for their needs. And I'm not sure Kadarius Toney was even the best player available. And I'm not entirely sure that Kadarius Toney wouldn't have still been there in the second round, who they could have, if they wanted to,
and I feel bad.
Trade up to get.
I feel bad for Toney because, like I said, he's going to a system that he doesn't even fit.
Yeah, and he's just not going to get as much game time as he would have got in other places because it was just strange. Like, Kadarius Toney could easily come in and have an amazing season, but they could have also got Kwity Paye, Greg Rousseau, any of those players. Caleb Farley. If Caleb Farley would have went there, I would have shit myself.
I think their best pick was Azeez Ojulari.
Azeez Ojulari is a great pick. I think that really
was their best pick of the draft. I also like Aaron Robinson, the cornerback out of UCF, because, again, a school that a lot of people don't see play, and these guys can play. But another guy I thought you probably reached for.
Yeah, and they probably reached for him, but also if you look at the division, how it's shaping up, if they're looking to beat Dallas, then Robinson will be a beast in the slot to take on CeeDee Lamb. So CeeDee Lamb's a mismatch.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, but CeeDee Lamb's a mismatch in the slot for a lot of people, but he's not going to be a mismatch for Robinson because, like, Robinson's a big guy. He could go toe to toe with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb's still probably going to burn him because he's an excellent wide receiver, and that's not on Robinson. It's just maybe that was their thinking behind their pick. Like, they saw the guy who was
you'll bring him
to play in the slot and was a beast.
You'll bring him in as your slot nickel so that if you have to, he can play that hybrid linebacker in certain situations. But again, he's another guy that maybe I'm completely wrong, but he was another guy that I had, I don't know, without looking back in my notes, 4 or 5 guys in his position that were either ahead of him or comparable. So I felt like with your third pick, it was kind of a reach.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I thought it was a very interesting draft. I really like Azeez Ojulari, and I really like the trade back. I think the trade back is why I give it a B, because they could easily have an amazing draft next year. Like, the trade back is worth a B itself because they've said,
I'm just crushing them because I don't understand their draft. I can't wrap my head around it.
I think it was a lot of strange picks. I really like Azeez Ojulari. I really like Kadarius Toney. I think he's a first-round talent, but just not to the Giants. What did they end up picking? 20 overall?
Yeah, 20th.
Chicago Bears pick, yeah. I thought it was a weird pick for the Giants, especially when they've spent so much money on their wide receiver core already. The guys who probably seemed on the face of it to have a terrible draft until you really look into it, for me, was the Washington football team. I I've given them the same grade as my Cowboys. I've given them a B plus.
I gave them a B, and I think the reason they get such a bad rap on their draft is I think these are a lot of guys that the casual fan did not put a lot of time into, and they don't know these guys because even like guys from bigger name schools weren't the biggest name at their school. So I think that the people in the draft, or even Washington fans, if you weren't dialed into the draft and the draft boards, you were probably like, what is going on? But I gave them a B. I think they did a really good job. The only thing that kept me from giving them an A is at no point, not even in the 7th round, did you draft that or address that quarterback position at all.
I thought that I honestly thought that was strange, and that makes me nervous that they didn't do it in the draft, because I think it means they're going to target him free agency next year when Aaron Rodgers is like, I think we both have done a video on this saying that we think Aaron Rodgers might go this year, but if he goes next year, then Washington could be in the running for that. Deshaun Watson could be in the running for that. Even Jimmy Garoppolo would be a good fit.
No, he'd be really solid.
He'd be really solid. So like, it makes me actually more nervous that they didn't do that. But I'm surprised that they didn't take Kellen Mond, Kyle Trask, that kind of guy.
If they get Jimmy Garoppolo, he's automatically the second best quarterback in the division right now.
Yep.
And maybe they go, I always come back to him, but maybe they go after Russell Wilson, like you said, or the other guys you said.
One of those guys.
And there's going to always be somebody available that we never thought, right? So I'm not knowing what anybody thinks of Taysom Hill, but there's no way with that weird gazillion-dollar contract with like 7 voidable years that Taysom Hill got. There's no way him and Jameis are both still there next year. And if they go and draft a quarter, so that they might just see that, and then next year is better for them. But it's just weird to me that they didn't even try to grab a developmental guy.
Yeah, but what if they saw that Taylor Heineke was better than the Kellen Mond, Kyle Trask?
I don't even mean those guys. I mean, bring somebody else in.
Ian Brooks, like that kind of level, like the Texas guy. Also, terrible news about his brother dying, by the way. We should just want to mention that quickly. But
I know I just forgot his name.
Slinger. The quarterback from Texas, like his linebacker, his brother who was a linebacker died recently. So very, very sad for him and his family.
Slinger.
Yeah, and a big thoughts and prayers to his family just in the middle of this video.
Was the guy who died Sam is his brother?
Sam could be the guy that they were looking to pick. Apparently the Cowboys were really high on the quarterback of the two, like to take around the 6th, 7th round. Like he could potentially be a really good fit for these guys. And I thought the draft started out really weird by them taking Jim and Davis. I still think that's weird. I sit and look at it and I still think that that's a real reach. That's why I give it a B plus instead of an A. Because I look at the Jim and Davis pick and it's like, you could have had Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. You could have picked Tevin Jenkins could have gone in the first round to them, and they could have picked up Jim and Davis in the second round instead of going Jim and Davis and then Samuel Cosme. But they do fix a need. He's a crazy athletic guy. He just doesn't have the experience or the consistency of the other guys that they could have taken on the board.
Yeah, and I must be really addicted to tight ends this year or something, because John Bates out of Boise State I thought fit perfectly in their
exactly
what they do. And I'm also a big fan, again, whenever you take a wide receiver in the late or with your last pick that can help on special teams. And if you, as we just shit on a Tony, Shaka Tony, DN Penn State, you can never go wrong with a DN from Penn State, because I don't know why, but if you go around the league, it seems like every other team has at least a backup defensive lineman from Penn State.
Yeah, exactly. And like Sam Samuel Cosme, very athletic at tackle. Technique could do with a little bit of cleaning up, but he's probably not going to start there, or he definitely won't start at left tackle. There's a lot of competition at left tackle. Good second round pick. St. Juice, the Canadian, really underrated corner for me. Not experienced, but really long. He has the change of direction that the big guys don't normally have. I won't be surprised if he wins a starting job in Washington at all.
And the only guy they drafted that I really think that the Packers should have drafted instead is Cheeseman, the long snapper. Can you have a better name in Green Bay than Cheeseman? Like, no, but actually, a lot of teams don't draft long snappers, but it was a good move. If you need a long snapper, that's important. Go get you one.
Yeah, of course. And De'Ami Brown is he looks the real deal already. He's a bit of a steal in my eyes. He's a really good fit for the offense as well. Quality route runner. He just didn't really get to show it off in North Carolina. His full route tree, and I think De'Ami Brown is going to cause the Cowboys a little bit of pain in the years to come. A really good draft, just a bit strange in places, I think, and it's gonna. With the casual fan, they just set up, they watch the first round, and they're gonna look at the draft from there. For me, the first round pick was a bit of a C- because Jim and Davis, good player, but they definitely could have got him in the second round, or they could have got Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who's a better linebacker in my eyes, and they could have got Jibril Cox, who's a better linebacker in my eyes as well. But apart from that, every other pick is solid, really, really good. I just think that first round was a bit strange.
What do you think about your arch rival, the Philadelphia Eagles draft? Because I'm going to tell you, their first 3 picks, they crushed it. And I gave them a B+.
I gave them a B-. I gave them a B- because they're the Eagles and I can't put a plus next to their name. No, I gave them a B- because I believe they haven't got alarmingly better, but their players could make them a lot better in the future. If you get a lot of it is protection. So number 1, Devontae Smith, Heisman winner, in my eyes, the best wide receiver in the draft. If you're not going to freak out about size, I don't see why you'd freak out about size, because he's proved he can get open against anyone. He's proved he can get open against NFL standard cornerbacks. And in the modern NFL, it just doesn't matter. And again, another Alabama connection, just like Tua and Jalen Waddle. And then just like in Clemson with Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne, Hurts and Devontae Smith have the Bama connection. And then when you add in Landon Dickerson as their potential center, that's another Bama connection. Me and you text each other when they pick Landon Dickerson. I think I text you a really long swear word.
Yes.
When they pick Landon Dickerson, I said, great pick after a good 2 minutes. The issue with him is injuries, but they're set at center at the minute. They have Jason Kelsey, and he's going to be the replacement. So Dickerson could easily play guard. Exactly. He could easily play guard. But in my eyes, I say give him a year. Give him a year to recover. He's had multiple ACL injuries. That'll be the thing that could ruin this pick, ruin this guy's career. So just, if you're set at the position you've drafted him to cover, then just let him sit for a year, maybe bring him in towards the end of the year when he's had a full-time recovering in an NFL system. I think Milton Williams is a bit undersized, but has a lot of potential.
It's that athleticism from a 3 technique. I think he's going to be good, and they'll put on muscle. Once he hits the weight room with a strength and conditioning coach. I think he was a great pick at 3, especially for the way the Eagles want to play defense.
Yeah, I think it's again another guy who's probably going to sit for a little bit of time. I just don't think they come in and they make the team instantly better. I don't see.
I think he'll get in on pass downs.
Yeah, possibly. But their defensive line is probably one of the only things that frightens me about the Eagles. Their defensive line is really, really good. And I'm not saying that Milton Williams isn't a good player. I just say he's not making them immediately better straight away. So that's why I'm giving it a B-. Devontae Smith, great pick. Love it. Love the pick. Definitely worth the move up as well. that's the thing. Like you don't normally want to give your arch rival a 3rd-round pick to play with, but definitely worth the move up. Devontae Smith. I'm surprised that Jalen Waddle went ahead of him until I looked at what the Dolphins already had. But
well, the
yeah.
DN Jackson from Coastal Carolina, if they can figure out exactly what role to use him in, give him some time to develop, kid from a small school who's got all the traits of what you're looking for. And then Patrick Johnson, the outside linebacker, Tulane. I think he's another kid, not that he was going to be a 1st round or 2nd or 3rd round talent, but I think he's another kid who's overlooked because he played at a really small school.
There's no way that he should be a round 7 pick. I watched tape on the guy and I was so upset. The guy's so good, and they got him at round 7. Really, really good pick. Patrick Johnson. Don't be surprised if he comes out again, though. Not making them immediately better right away, but strengthening their area of strength.
But how good are the Eagles? What are the Eagles' realistic expectations this year? Is what I need to know. Like, what is Howie Roseman's? Like, is 8-8? Is 10-7? Oh, sorry, 8-9? Is 10-7? Or are we looking at we don't believe in Jalen Hurts, but we didn't know what to do? Or are you really looking at like? Not, I mean, you're in the East, so you're going to try to win that division, but are you looking at much past that? Because if you're not, and I don't think you and I think they have any legitimate shot at a Super Bowl, bring these guys in, develop them 2-3 years from now. Maybe you're back from the firestorm Doug Peterson left on his way out the door.
Yeah, 100%. And I think they do have to eventually move on from Fletcher Cox, which is why they've made these picks. They've got aging lines on both sides of the ball. So the Landon Dickerson pick is a great pick. Like, don't get me wrong. He'll probably sit or to recover the ACL like that. That might be it. But if they're perfectly happy with his ACL being good, then he's playing guard. And then they've really found a good guard who's eventually going to move to be one of the best centers. And their wide Devontae Smith comes in and is immediately their best wide receiver, which doesn't, to be perfectly honest, that doesn't scare me. Doesn't scare me too much having Devontae Smith as your number 1 wide receiver.
It depends on how
well
all their other receivers have developed since last year, too, because they have guys with talent. They just didn't play up or injury or whatever. So, but automatically he is going to make people go kick that out the back of the end zone. Yeah, because they're not going to want him to return a ball, and he is definitely going to be their returner right away.
Yeah, it's kind of scary to have such an unknown in your division. Like that's what's kind of freaking me out. Have a guy where it's like, well, if his size isn't a problem, then we're in trouble because they've got one of the best wide receivers in our division immediately. Like if his size, if they're able to combat his size, then
you are going to see. This is just me guessing, but you are going to see a lot more RPOs. Because Jalen Hurts and the guys they put around him with Devontae Smith. If he comes on a jet sweep, even if you don't give him the ball, the whole defense has to be watching him. He is a guy who can change the game or change a play just by being in motion.
Yeah, 100%. And like the NFC East, I think, had a good draft as a whole from a very kind of low position already. Like the NFC East was the worst division in football last year, like undoubtedly the worst division in football last year. Maybe the AFC East, but they had the Bills in there, and the Dolphins played pretty well. So
yeah, I think we can confidently say that the biggest train wreck of a division last year was the NFC East.
It was the NFC East, and like the East Coast was much worse than the West Coast playing football last year, and so Dallas got better in their draft. Like even if they didn't get better in the position, like dramatically better in the positions they wanted to, they got better in their draft. The Washington football team, they got better in their draft. The Giants have potential to get better over the next 2 drafts, but they've had a really good offseason. And the Eagles have got players that are going to be good players in the NFL, but aren't going to start right away. So they're on the development path as well. And the NFC East might actually see some decent football next year. We'll see.
and this is the dumbest statement ever, but I think that you and I could do a better job in the draft than Dave Gettleman. But whatever. Like, there's some going. Like, that guy rubs me the wrong way. Not personally, because I don't know him. Like, the way he's running the Giants, I don't like it ever since the year with Danny Dimes. I just can't do it.
Since he's finally moved a year, like he finally moved back this year. Like he finally moved back in an NFL draft, did the right thing, and then picked the wrong guy. But Kadarius Toney is a good wide receiver. They've done well. They've picked a good wide receiver. Just that's the one position they didn't need is a wide receiver. And offensive line, they have a pretty good offensive line. But apart from that, then they could have, So NFC East done. We've got the last two left. We're doing the NFC South and the AFC South in a couple of days' time. So look after that, guys.
Yeah, everybody. I think we wrapped this up pretty well. I think what we've noticed so far, and we're far from done, is most teams did a pretty good job all around in the draft. We've had some head scratchers. There's a handful of teams that we're looking at, like, what did you do? But it's really interesting to go and see how teams evaluate position compared to best player available to what they think compared to what we think. And I think the NFC East proved it the most because we understand Washington. We didn't always agree, but both of us think great plan, bad execution on the Giants. I think like you do. The Cowboys made themselves better, and they're probably right now the perennial favorites to win the NFC East.
If they don't win the NFC East, then they've messed up. Like, that's just like the Washington football team could do really well. The Giants have had a really good offseason apart from maybe the draft, so they could do well. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we lose it. They shouldn't lose it is where I'm at with the Cowboys. So,
and I think the Eagles got better. We're just not a lot better. We're just not going to see it for a year or two.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what I agree. I agree with you entirely. In a team that needed to get better, they're not getting better for a year or two.
No, and they get a little bit of leeway. They didn't win a Super Bowl that long ago. Retool, rebuild, get good again. They do have a crazy fan base, but they'll be fine. All right, guys, keep your eyes open for the other videos that we have coming out. So we're also going to be dropping some really cool video or some real cool interviews coming up with MMA Underground. So check that out. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, all podcasting platforms. All right, guys, till next time. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.